Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We are 158 days away from the start of the college football season, but it is never too early to start looking ahead. So today we are going to preview the most notable Week 1 games of the 2018 season. We will not be predicting these games. We will briefly preview them and kind of give you an idea of what to expect when these teams face off on opening weekend. We have 7 great games lined up for Week 1, starting with the defending national champions, Alabama, taking on Louisville in Orlando. So this is bound to be a pretty exciting game. I think it would be a lot more exciting and a lot more interesting had Lamar Jackson still been with Louisville. Of course, he is in the NFL draft. He should be getting drafted here in about a month when the NFL draft takes place. So it would be a lot more exciting had he still been with Louisville. Might have been giving Alabama a little bit more of a test. But nonetheless, should be a good game down in Orlando. An interesting fact is that Alabama has not lost a season opener since 2001 when they lost to UCLA. They also opened as 30-point favorites when the spreads came out in January. Of course, that is subject to change as we get closer to game time. That is not very encouraging for Louisville. Louisville, as I said, lost Lamar Jackson, but looks like Jawan Pass is going to come in and take over for him, and I've heard good things about him. He definitely will not be like another Lamar Jackson, but should be able to fill the hole fairly nicely there, and they return most of their starters on offense. The big key is going to be, can their defense shut down Alabama, who has a problem of their own on who they're going to start at quarterback, whether it will be Tua Tagovailoa, the hero of the national championship game, or will it be Jalen Hurts, who was the starter for the entire season up until halftime of the national championship game. So it's going to be a very intriguing matchup here. It's going to be a very fun one to watch. I never doubt Bobby Petrino. He usually has his teams ready to go for these big games. Of course, Alabama is the general consensus as a favorite to start, but things can change. Auburn and Washington facing off in Atlanta. This is probably the game that I'm most excited for on opening weekend. Auburn, this is their 3rd straight game playing in Atlanta, losing in the SEC championship game, losing their bowl game to UCF, and now they're starting the season once again in Atlanta. Auburn and Washington are really, in my opinion, very, very similar teams. They both have very good quarterbacks. Jarrett Stidham for Auburn. Washington has Jake Browning. Washington returns Myles Gaskin, a very big threat on the ground, while Auburn returns the majority of their receivers. So this is going to be, in my opinion, a very high-scoring game, a very big offensive game. They've got 2 great offensive-minded coaches with Gus Malzahn at Auburn and Chris Peterson with Washington. So that's something to keep our eye on there. Washington does return a decent amount of starters looking to get back to the college football playoff after they missed out on it last year but made it the year before. And both teams are coming off a New Year's Six bowl loss from the bowl games this past season. So this is going to be a very intriguing matchup. I expect a lot of points to be scored, and the winner of this is going to be a huge on their resume for the college football playoff. It bolsters that strength of schedule, but the winner will have that huge win on there when the committee is looking at them if they can stay contenders over the course of the season. Ole Miss and Texas Tech facing off in Houston. This is a very intriguing matchup in my opinion, and this is really a bigger game for Texas Tech than it is for Ole Miss. Cliff Kingsbury, I feel like, would not be on the sidelines this season had he not been able to beat Texas at the end of last season and get the Red Raiders to a bowl game. Of course, they lost that bowl game to South Florida in heartbreaking fashion, but nonetheless, he's back for another season, but he is definitely on the hot seat. They need some success this year, and they definitely need to get back to a bowl game, and this would be huge for him to go in and get a quality win over an improving Ole Miss team, an SEC team, at a neutral site. That would be huge for them. If they lose that, you will once again hear rumors of Cliff Kingsbury being fired very, very soon. They have to replace Nick Shimonek at quarterback, their star quarterback from last year, but McLean Carter comes in to take over for that, and I expect him to do pretty well there. Cliff Kingsbury usually knows how to direct his offense. The defense is going to be the major problem. They do not return many starters on the defensive side of the ball, and that's going to be huge because they're going to have to stop Ole Miss's Jordan Ta'amu, who's taking over for Shea Patterson now that he has transferred to Michigan. Saw great things out of him last year. I think he's going to do even better things this year. I think he may have been even a little bit better than Shea Patterson. So he's a great fit for Matt Luke's offense at Ole Miss. It's going to be a very intriguing matchup down in Houston. Then Tennessee and West Virginia facing off in Charlotte. We really don't know what to expect out of Tennessee this season. They have that new head coach coming in with Jeremy Pruitt. He did great things as defensive coordinator at Alabama, but how is he going to fare as a head coach at Tennessee? I know Volunteer fans are hoping that he's like a Kirby Smart, where he comes in and turns that program around fairly quickly. But we're just going to have to wait and find out. They do have a solid quarterback in place if they choose to use him. Keller Chris transferring from Stanford. He's a very experienced quarterback, very capable, playing in the Pac-12, so now he's coming over to the SEC, and if they decide to use him as a starter, that position should be very solid for Tennessee, and you would think that the defense would be a major focus for Jeremy Pruitt coming over as a defensive coordinator from Alabama. So we really don't know what to expect out of Tennessee this year. But I'm very excited to see kind of what they bring to the table. They're going to have to play a really, really good game, though, because they're going to go up against a very dangerous West Virginia team, a team that I think could make the college football playoff, could very well challenge some of the Big 12 powerhouses for that Big 12 championship. They have Will Grier at quarterback, who I think could be Big 12 Player of the Year, and then he's got his favorite receiver back in David Sills. So I'm very excited to watch West Virginia this season. The Mountaineers are poised for a great run throughout the Big 12, and like I said, potentially the college football playoff, but they're going to have to get a major win in Charlotte over Tennessee. Michigan at Notre Dame. I'm very excited about this game as well. One of the better rivalries in college football, I think. These guys have not met since 2014. Michigan had to cancel a home-and-home series with Arkansas that was to begin this year so they could renew their rivalry with Notre Dame, and I'm very excited that they did that because these games are usually very fun to watch. A lot of bad blood there, but it's one of the greatest rivalries, I think, in college football. Michigan, a lot of people have been criticizing Jim Harbaugh, had back-to-back 10-win seasons to start his career at Michigan. They took a little bit of a step back last year, going 8-5 and blowing that huge lead to South Carolina in their bowl game. And I knew that they were going to take a bit of a step back last year because they were very inexperienced. They just didn't have a lot of guys with playing time, playing experience last year. 8-5, in my opinion, was still respectable, but you know, I think he's going to need another big year this year, potentially another 10-win season, or at least to compete in the Big Ten, for people to get off his back a little bit. And what better way to go on the road and get the win over Notre Dame to kind of clear up any hot seat allegations there. So it's going to be very interesting. They do bring in Shea Patterson. We do not know if he will be eligible this year, but that will cover the quarterback position from an offense that kind of struggled last year, and the defense should definitely be more experienced coming into this year as well. Notre Dame, on the other hand, they were in the running for the college football playoff up until the last few weeks of the season. They finished the season 10-3, won a thriller against LSU in their bowl game. The question is whether Brandon Wimbush will continue to develop and get better over the course of this offseason until he'll be ready for the 2018 season. I saw great things out of him last year, but there's definitely a lot of things that he can do to get better and put the Fighting Irish in a position to play for the college football playoffs. This is a very fun, exciting rivalry game that's being renewed. It's going to be a really, really fun one to watch. And then Miami versus LSU down in Arlington. I believe this game is going to be on Sunday night. These guys have not met since the 2005 Peach Bowl, where LSU defeated Miami 40-3. So it's been a while, and a lot of things have changed, of course, since then. Miami closed the season with 3 straight losses, and you have to wonder how that's going to affect this team going into this upcoming season. Will it make them angry, want them to come out and show that it was just a fluke, or are they going to still be down on themselves? Keep in mind, they got upset by Pittsburgh, lost to Clemson in the ACC Championship, and then lost their bowl game to Wisconsin. So how will that affect Miami, the morale around the team? It's going to be something we'll have to keep our eye on. Malik Rozier, their quarterback, did great things last year. I think, you know, people are saying that there might be an open quarterback competition at Miami this season. I would highly disagree with that. I feel like Malik Rozier is the guy for Miami after what he did last year. Plenty of things that he needs to fix, plenty of things that need to work on over this offseason to get ready for this game. But I feel like he is the guy for the Hurricanes. And the defense, of course, should still be strong. And as we all know, we'll see that turnover chain being passed around a lot this season. LSU, though, on offense, their offense is still shaky. They lose Danny Etling, who really wasn't the best quarterback, but it was someone they were familiar with. They lost Darius Geis on the ground. They also lost DJ Chark, one of their best wide receivers. So there's a lot of offensive moving around there, new offensive coordinator coming in. So a lot of things that they're going to really have to work on to get that offense up and going from a team that struggled to score points last year. I feel like this game is going to be a major defensive battle. Unlike Auburn and Washington, I expected that one to be high scoring. I expect this one to be low scoring, and every possession is going to count. This is a team, LSU, that ranked 14th nationally in scoring defense last season, and that was a defense filled mostly with underclassmen, freshmen, and sophomores. So these guys are going to be a lot more experienced, a lot more prepared. Whatever the offense doesn't do, the defense will make up for it. So I'm very excited for this game. Expect a low-scoring defensive battle in Arlington on Sunday night. And then Virginia Tech at Florida State. This is going to be a very big game. Willie Taggart's making his debut for the Seminoles. It's on Monday night, Labor Day. It's prime time. It's a conference game. Really, you couldn't be set up more for a bigger game for a head coach or a first-year head coach at his respective school. So Willie Taggart making his debut. The question will be who will be his starting quarterback. Will it be DeAndre Francois, who's still battling that injury he suffered against Alabama in last year's season opener, or will it be James Blackman, who took over for Francois last season? They had a very disappointing season last year. As we all know, they did battle a handful of injuries. Jimbo Fisher leaves to take the job at Texas A&M. So hopefully Willie Taggart can come in there and turn this program back around and get them back up to national dominance like we've been used to seeing. Virginia Tech saw great things out of Josh Jackson last year, their quarterback. That was just his first time starting. Now he's going to be starting year 2. Hopefully he will progress over this offseason, and Virginia Tech wants to come in here and get the upset. They're going to have to rely on huge plays from him. You also never want to doubt a Bud Foster defense at Virginia Tech. He's been doing great things there. Some people are saying that the defense might take a little bit of a step back this season. We'll have to wait and find out about that. I don't think that will be the case. Justin Fuente is entering his 3rd year at Virginia Tech, which is usually when you start to see major strides from a head coach. Give him 3 or 4 years, and that's when they usually start to take big steps. So getting a win at Florida State on the road against Willie Taggart in his debut would be huge steps for his Hokies team and making a run in the ACC Coastal Division. So this is going to be a very exciting game here just for both schools, mostly for Florida State, though, to kind of see what their team looks like under new leadership, under a new head coach. So these are the 7 top games of Week 1. I know there will be plenty of other big games over the course of that weekend, starting on Thursday, carrying on through Monday. But in my opinion, these were the top 7 that we will all want to be watching and all looking forward to that could have very big national impact. So I'm very excited for these. And as always, we're going to be having more videos coming out soon. One over a way too early top 25 coaches on the hot seat. Anything else y'all want to see, please leave them in the comments. There will be plenty of videos to come. Thank you for watching. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.